Mr. Schultz said to me that he thought it was a worthy goal to become financially independent for three major reasons. First, with money no longer a time-consuming consideration, I could then begin devoting heavy time to all the other dimensions of my life. Second, he suggested I become financially independent because it would tremendously increase my ability to help others. Only from positions of strength, including financial strength, can we help someone else. Finally, and most important, he said, I believe it is worthwhile to become financially independent for the sake of developing the person you must become to achieve that goal. What a major secret he taught me. Set a goal to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve it. Reaching the goal is the lesser value. The primary value lies in the person you become by reaching it. You see, it's not the $1 million that's most important. It's what you must do and become in order to be a millionaire. We're all aware that many people feel that we must be careful of focusing on money or affluence or abundance. That in it, or in the pursuit of it, there is danger. We often hear quoted from the Bible, the love of money is the root of all evil. And I do agree. If you make money your love, and you pursue affluence to the exclusion of, or at the expense of, other values of life, you have lost, not won. However, let us consider this question. If you could do better, should you? That's not a bad question. In the time allotted to labor, in the time given to economics, care for family, success, achievement, productivity, the creation of value, the development of skills and creativity, if you could do better, should you? I think that one of the greatest satisfactions of living life to the fullest is doing the best you can with whatever you have. Doing less than your best has ways of eroding the psyche. We seem to be creatures of enterprise. Surely it is the reason for the seasons. The soil and the sun and the rain and the seed all say, what can you do with us? The seasons say, do you have the genius to make something unique of us? Life says, here's the raw material. What splendid things can you produce from all there is? So, go for high productivity, the full employment of your genius, the full development of your potential in all areas of your life, including earning money. That is the essence of life. Truly sophisticated people know it isn't the amount that counts. It's doing all that you can with all you've got that counts. With that background, let me recommend a book for you to read. The title is The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Perhaps you've already read it. I would suggest that you read it again. It's just a small book. You can read it in one evening. I call it the appetizer for the full discourse on the subject of financial independence. Now, let me give you the major theme of the book. The major theme is that what you do with what you have is more important than what you have. What you do with what you get is more important than what you get. What we do with what we have says so much about us. It reveals our philosophy of life, our attitude, what we know, and what we think, and the makeup of our character. It is a reflection of what is going on inside of our head and within our value system and decision-making process. It also reveals our ability to weigh and to perceive. The outer is always a reflection of the inner. It is an indication, a reading, a revealing. It speaks, it tells, it shows. Remember that key phrase I gave you earlier? Everything is symptomatic of something, and it is symptomatic of something right or something wrong. It is a wise policy not to ignore the symptoms, for they can be early signs of a poor choice of philosophy, or a sign that something important is being misread, misunderstood, miscalculated. So of all places, take a look here. What you are doing with your money says something about you. Now, what you're doing may be okay. All I'm suggesting is that you take a look. Let me give you some of the details of a good financial plan as suggested by Clason's book. First, a very broad but important statement. Learn to live on 70% of your net income. Net meaning the money you have left after paying your taxes. Learn to live on 70%. The reason it's 70 is because you're going to be doing some very special things with the 30%. So what's left, 70%, is yours to spend. Now let's talk about the all-important subject of how you allocate the 30%. I remember one day saying to Mr. Schoaf, if I had more money, I would have a better plan. He said to me, Mr. Rohn, I would suggest that if you had a better plan, you would have more money. So it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan that counts. It's not what you allocate, it's how you allocate it. Here's the first part of the allocation process. Of the 30% you're not spending, 10% should go to charity, giving back part of what you have taken out to help those who cannot help themselves. I think that's a good percentage. Now, you can pick your own percentage. It's your life, and it's your plan. But giving your money to a church or to an institution is a good idea. More often than not, they can find the people who are in need. But whether you administer it yourself or give it to an institution to distribute, 10% should be given to charity. And by the way, the best time to teach this allocation process is when a child gets his first dollar. Take him on a visual tour. There's nothing better than visual to illustrate what you're trying to teach. Take him to where some very unfortunate people live who cannot take care of themselves. Kids have big hearts. If they see the problem, they won't have any trouble giving a dime out of every dollar. And one more thing. The time to start this is when the amounts are small. It's pretty easy to flip a dime out of a dollar, and it's a little more difficult to give away 100,000 out of a million. You say, oh, if I had 1,000,000, I'd give 100,000. I'm not so sure. That's a lot of money. Best we start you early, so you will have the habit before the big money comes your way. Now, here is what to do with the next 10%. Set aside 10% for capital you manage. That is, capital you find ways to utilize. Do some buying and selling yourself. Buy something, fix it, and sell it. Engage in commerce, even if it's only a part-time venture. Your home is a major capital project. In my opinion, we should all engage in capitalism in this country. And again, remember this thought. The best time to teach capitalism is when a child is old enough to be stimulated by ideas for goods and services. Kids learn the concept of performing services in exchange for capital early, right? They mow the lawn, help in the house, earn an allowance. But take it a step beyond that, as soon as possible. They will pick it up fast. Kids ought to have 2 bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. It doesn't take much to be in business. It doesn't take $1 million. And the same business principles apply whether it is a bicycle business or General Motors. Show kids how to buy a bottle of soap for $2 and sell it for $3. Right in the neighborhood. It's called capitalism in action. Profits, products, and services brought to the marketplace. It is most exciting once you understand the mechanics and the dynamics. It's the stuff of which fortunes are made. And teach kids the advantage of being kids. Some people will buy from you just because you're little. So you must get on with it. You won't be little forever. So Johnny goes a few doors down from your home in the neighborhood and knocks on a door. Mrs. Jones answers, and Johnny says, Mrs. Jones, I have this bottle of soap. It is the best there is. My mother uses it, and lots of people I know wouldn't use anything else. You should really have some. It only costs $3, and I'm your neighbor, so I can take care of you. And besides, I'm little. There, isn't that simple? Commerce in action. Capitalism at its foundation. You see, the only danger in capitalism is if capital gets in the hands of too few people. As long as it is in the hands of the many, it is a dynamic force for profitable and exciting enterprise. Back to our story. Mrs. Jones says, "Johnny, I appreciate your coming by." Hey, kids know how to overcome objections. They have been mastering that skill all their lives. Johnny knows how to get in the door. Mrs. Jones says, "You've got me. I'll be a customer." Now, when he comes home, you must get ready to teach all the other principles of enterprise and successful living. The two should go together. First, Johnny says, "I've got $3 to spend," and you point out the obvious. If you spend all $3, you will be out of business. He says, "I can see that." Then you explain, you must set aside $2 to invest in another bottle of soap. You can't spend your capital. Capital must be carefully preserved. What would you think of a farmer who ate his seed corn? Dumb farmer, right? So capital must be defended. It is your only chance for another harvest. Now here's another thought for your notes. Make sure you turn part of your income into capital. I would suggest 10%. And use that 10% yourself to give your own skill a chance to do something remarkable in the marketplace. No telling what genius lies, unused, waiting for the spark of opportunity. It is part of the path of fortune. Use this thought. Why not work full-time on your job and part-time on your fortune? You can, you know. It's up to you. And you can't believe the feelings every day when you can honestly say, "I'm working to become wealthy. I'm not just working to pay my bills." It makes a different kind of day. You will find it hard to go to bed at night and exciting to get out of bed in the morning. Remember, it's the same day, the same opportunity, the same you, but it is a greatly different life working to become wealthy or working to get by. Now here's the next principle to teach. Johnny says, "Okay, I'll set aside $2 so I can stay in business and continue to make $1 profit. But I get to spend the $1, right?" Now comes a most important opportunity. You must explain that if he spends that whole dollar, he will wind up broke and unhappy. And then take him on another visual tour to some part of town where he can get a good look at people who spend all they make and are broke and unhappy, and say, "Do you want to live like this?" He will say, "No." Then you say, "All right then, you can't spend the whole dollar." He says, "Well then, tell me what to do with it." And with that open door comes the obvious opportunity to teach all the principles of wealth and happiness and lifestyle. One of the major factors that affects your life, all your life, is what you do with your money. So here's what you do. First, pay your taxes, right? Next comes the 10 cents for charity, which we have already covered. Johnny says, "Oh yes, here is a dime for those who cannot help themselves." Now I can spend the rest. Answer, no. You will wind up broke and unhappy. He says, "Okay, what now?" And now comes another major life lesson. The next 10 cents out of every dollar of wages or profit is for the increase of capital you manage. Set aside 10 cents out of every dollar profit so that someday you can buy 2 bottles of soap instead of 1. I'm sure Johnny will catch on to that one right away. He says, "Of course. If you buy 2 bottles instead of 1, you save yourself a trip." How clever. And the next point you teach is that some companies will sell you 2 bottles cheaper than if you buy just 1 bottle at a time. They sell you 1 bottle for $2 and 2 bottles for $3.80. Johnny says, "Wow, then when I sell it, I can make even more money." How clever. It's true, everybody benefits from the increase of capital. The company gets to sell 2 bottles at one time. You save a trip and some costs, and you can keep some of the saving or pass along some of it to Mrs. Jones, your customer. Let's review so far. First, pay taxes. Next, 10 cents for charity and 10 cents for capital you manage, and for the increase of that capital out of every dollar of wages or profits. Now, here's the third 10 cents from every dollar, and that is capital you provide. Take 10 cents out of every dollar and put it in a financial institution. And now we have come to a major benefit for all of us if you bring this 10% of your earnings to the marketplace. You see, some projects in our society need more capital than one person can provide. So we have a system whereby all of us can loan or invest our money in capital provided, so that large businesses can be built to provide more jobs and products and service and help create an even more dynamic society. So 10 cents out of every dollar should go into a savings account. I really prefer to call it an investment account because, and kids will love this, they pay you for the use of your money. You can get back the money you loaned, and you will have more profit from what you are paid for the use of your money. And be sure that you teach this, that if kids start this program from whatever they earn on a job, or in engaging in enterprise, or both, while they are in their teens, by the time they are 40, they will be wealthy enough to be able to do what they want to do the rest of their lives, instead of all their lives doing what they have to do. Now, from your teenage years, it could take a much shorter period of time to become financially independent, depending on what ideas and opportunities you take advantage of. A 10-year-old takes $1, searches around the community and finds a broken, abandoned wagon, pays $1 for it, brings it home, cleans it up, sands off the rust, paints it till it's shiny and new, straightens out the wheel, and sells the like-new wagon for $11. You ask, does a 10-year-old deserve $10 profit? And the answer is, of course. Society now has a mended wagon. And that's what it's all about. Find something and leave it better than you found it. Create a value. Build an equity. It's how we build this most dynamic society called America. Just try it. Just try it. You can always go back to the old way. But if you just try it, I predict you will be so excited about your new commitment and discipline for wealth that you will never turn back. What we're seeing here is that wealth is a matter of allocation, not opportunity, especially in this country. There are subtleties on both sides of any issue of health and sickness, the issues of success and failure. It is the subtleties that determine the direction and the destination. The major reason it is so subtle is because what you do in a single day or a single week or month doesn't seem to matter that much. But remember, as we said earlier, everything matters. Everything weighs something. Sophisticated people never say, it doesn't matter. If you spend or invest $5 today, it doesn't seem to matter much either way. You seem to be no richer or poorer at the end of the day. But it does make all the difference in the world as you save $5 every day, and the days accumulate into weeks and into months and into years. You see, it's the accumulated total of the allocation of each day that makes all the difference in the world, whether you become rich or poor, healthy or ill, successful or mediocre. Now back to Johnny. He is going to ask about his investment account, where he's putting 10 cents out of every dollar. What kind of interest do they pay kids? So you give him the blockbuster, same as adults. That will be almost unbelievable. At last he can be treated like an adult, getting that adult interest when you're only a kid. And one added note, just by working this part of the financial independence plan alone, by putting aside less than $200 a month, will make you a millionaire in 30 years. Remember, it's called the subtlety of wealth or poverty. What you do in one day doesn't seem to matter. But as all sophisticated kids and adults know, it is the accumulated days of proper allocation of your money that makes you wealthy. It is using the ideas we're discussing, coupled with the passing of a little time, that creates fortunes. Now, the passing of time is automatic, but using the ideas is a matter of your own discipline. Whether you want to or not, or whether you care or not, bottom line, it's all up to you. Let me give you the definition of rich and poor. It is brief, but I'm sure you will get the message. Here it is. Poor people spend their money and save what's left. And you guessed it already, rich people save their money and spend what's left. Remember, it's the same money, just a different philosophy. If 20 years ago, two people each earned $1,000 a month, and they each had an average increase in income over the last 20 years, one had the philosophy, spend your money, save what's left, and the other had the philosophy, save your money and spend what's left. Today, 20 years later, we call one poor and the other rich. The difference was in philosophy. But I can't stress too much the subtlety of it all. At the end of a day or a week or a month, it doesn't seem to matter. A rich plan or a poor plan to an unsophisticated person. But to make wise decisions, we must all weigh a larger measure of the result. We don't just weigh a week. We weigh 5 years of weeks, 10 years of weeks, and let the weight of that measure determine the change in our weekly activity and commitment. Wise decisions for wealth and lifestyle come from the wise measure of results.